Mostly what I appreciate is that maybe it may have dissipated some fear that you may have had of doing that sort of thing. I spoke in the very beginning of this class that I think that spreading the word of Christ has the same fear sometimes as public speaking in people's minds. There's kind of that, will I know what to do? Will I know what to say? What kind of questions will they ask? Will they like me after I'm done? Kinds of things that are just human, you know, we're just human beings. Everybody wants to be liked and no one wants to be rejected. And so I hope that we today can kind of round that up and give you a little bit of courage. I think I've earned the right to dispense courage in this category. The only reason that I say that is because I have had to have some of my own to even start a ministry like mine, but I've also been able to teach other people how to do this and be courageous and openly speak about Jesus and to give out, if you will, enough information to reduce the uncertainties that people have about doing this kind of thing. Last week I shared with you a little bit of stuff that I want you to look at again, but before we do that, David Bates and I are going to teach next quarter in here, and he's going to tell you what we're going to do because it was all his idea, so if it flops, it's on him. You want to come up here? Come on.
I'm loud enough.
Here's your miniature microphone.
Miniature.
Yeah.
For a miniature guy. It's a class about love. And really, you know, where people can see love is in relationship, right? So as Christians, if we are sequestered away, if we hide ourselves away, we're really not, people aren't able to see God's love in us because they're not actually interacting with us. So what we're going to be talking about is we're going to be taking some of these principles that we've been discussing ever since we can remember about fruits of the Spirit, about what love is, and we're going to make a very practical application. We're going to start with talking about what that looked like in Jesus' life. When he manifested these things, what did that look like? And then we're going to bring that back to say, what are some specific things that this would look like in our lives? So we're going to be talking about love in relationships from marriage to dealing with your boss at work. You're going to have assignments. We're going to make this practical. We're going to talk about actually making some of these things work. And to some extent, I want to hear what happens. We want to be able to hear, okay, if you're putting some of this into practice, what does that do? What does that change? How are you able to see God working through that, and how might other people see God working through that? So I really see it as part 2 of what we've been studying right now. You agree, Steve?
Absolutely.
Here's your microphone.
Thanks, David. Yeah, we're going to have some fun. It's not going to be drudgery. Sharing the love of Christ is not supposed to be drudgery. It's not supposed to be frightening, and you're not supposed to be afraid to do it. And it is supposed to do something we're going to talk a little bit more about in a minute. But one of the things I'd like to do first, I've got to get a little bit of business out of the way here. I'd like to thank Sheila and Bill Harper from Brooksville, Florida. I'd like to send my condolences to those people. They're listening on the internet. One of them, Sheila, is related to Ken Jones. There's where the condolences come from. We call him Jumpin' Jack Jones around here because he's kind of blurry almost all the time. He's running around here doing things that he doesn't get paid for and doing things whether you like it or not. He'll get you out of chair, in your chair, he'll get you up and out to fix something that you're sitting on. So, and he does it right there. So we appreciate him. We appreciate his sister and her husband listening to us and hope they stay with us. And they're in Florida, and I hope Brooksville is not in the way of any bad weather. That would be good. Our goal today is to do a little bit more, if we can, in the area of the prescriptive side of what we were talking about last time. I want to read you something. These are promises. I did some of that last week. I managed to throw some promises out there, and we talked about those. Here's some more. We will know a new freedom and happiness. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity. We will know peace. We will see how our experiences would benefit other people. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things. Self-seeking will just slip away. It won't occur to us anymore. Our whole attitude and outlook on life will change. Just your whole attitude, that's all. Not a big deal, I guess. Fear of people and economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we couldn't do for ourselves. You know who's making this promise? Anybody have any idea? Alcoholics Anonymous makes these promises to those who come and work their system of getting to know God in such a way as to be permanently closer. Can we make those promises? Could we safely make those promises in here? Can this book make those promises? Does Christ make those promises? Are you looking at those and going, do I have all those? I'll bet you were. If you're anything like me, I would be looking at those and saying, do I have all these? How many of you are like not worried about financial insecurity anymore? Oh. We have an atmosphere in our culture of financial insecurity, don't we? Do we not? What does God say about that? Matthew, do not worry about your life. I think that's the first sentence. You think it would include that? Yeah. You know, you're going to have to change your definition of fear. But first, you're going to have to change your definition of fair. Because sometimes our definition of fear has been caused by our definition of fair. Because our definition of fair has been, it's only fair that I have what everybody else has. If you change your definition of fair to, I get what I need, not what everybody else has got, then the fear dissipates. The fear can go away. You see, which one do you suppose would be God's definition of fair for you? Is He going to treat us all the same? Is He all going to give us all the same economic situations? Are we all suited for different purposes? Do we have different purposes in the kingdom? Would money kill you if you got too much of it? I'm convinced that He sees me that way. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm all right with that. I have found my joy somewhere else. Does that make sense? There's an idolatrous kind of thing happening there with the wrong definition of fear, isn't there? I want what everybody else has got is an idolatrous sort of living. It's lusting, if you will. Looking at what someone else has and what someone else is doing and thinking you're supposed to be doing that, or you should have that, or you deserve that. Here's where that prescriptive thing comes in. How do you suppose Jesus Christ remained sinless the whole time He was here? Do you think simply because He was Jesus Christ that He did that? See, that's eliminating the very idea that He might be human as we are. Was he? He was every bit as human as we in lots and lots of ways, and demonstrated that in lots and lots of ways.
But I wonder if he didn't have, he had better understanding.
Better understanding? I don't think there's any doubt in my mind of that.
I mean, that's what was so much different in the rest of us, is that he really understood what heaven was and what the relationship with the Father was.
Even though, did he not suffer?
He had been there.
Did he suffer?
Absolutely.
Was he tempted?
Yes.
By the Burger Man himself, right? He was seriously tempted. And you know, after 40 days and 40 nights, tempted with something to eat. That's pretty low in itself. And so how do you suppose he managed that? Because, you know, I can't imagine some of the people he came in contact with, I can't imagine him not just choking somebody. Wouldn't you? I mean, think about that. Even though you are Jesus Christ, you understand you are being treated pretty badly by some people that are supposed to be your brothers and sisters, and I mean, your own kind's turning against you. Has that ever happened to you? I think King David said, give me an enemy that comes to me from the front and is a stranger, but my, when my own kind come at me from behind, it's difficult.
That's how we lose a lot of people at church. Because we expect more of our brothers and sisters than we do of people out in the world. And when they let us down, sometimes we lose our faith and we leave.
Well, then we don't lose them, they run. Are we runners as human beings? We are runners, aren't we? If things don't go our way, we take our ball and go home, don't we? That's what we have a tendency to do. Y'all might as well get used to this, okay? My funeral's going to be right here. I'm going to make you look at my face until I die. So there. One of y'all is going to have to kill me in my sleep for me to get out of here. But the idea, do you understand, that we are typically, do you understand, runners, and we typically do have a tendency to go where it's easier, speaks of half measures to me, and half measures get us nothing. So we're back to, did Jesus Christ approach anything in a half measure sort of way? Absolutely not. He did not. And so consequently, how in the world could he possibly have maintained sinlessness, not been tempted, not tripped up somewhere, not said the wrong thing, done the wrong thing, thought the wrong thing, any of those things? Do you understand? How did he manage that? Well, I can't imagine him not having something better than any of that, or he would have. I'm pretty sure the way he managed it, he became the best servant the world has ever known. And it fed him in ways I don't know if we've experienced in here yet. Does feeling good because you did something good last a while? Does it? Yeah. Do you like it? You know, we are human. We have a tendency, when we find something we like, we recommend it to other people, don't we? Like good places to eat and recipes and places to buy things cheap, you know, stuff like that. Have you ever recommended doing something really nice for somebody else, get out of yourself, and the feeling is superior to anything you can get on the planet? Have you ever told anybody that? Or have you not ever felt that way? Which one? What stands in the way of that? Maybe you haven't experienced it, or maybe you're not sure if anybody would accept your recommendation. I can tell you this. Standing up there in that water, looking at somebody in the face whose life has changed the way they think. It's already made them more receptive. They're already looking for something and asking them if they believe in Jesus as the Son of God. Wells up a feeling inside of me when I did that. Do you think I was serious? I know that I have not baptized anybody simply because they came of age. I have not done that. I know some of you in here may have, and it's as serious as anything. I don't mean to say it's not. Most of the people that I may have baptized or talked to Jesus about were in a lot of trouble. They had suffered at the hands of the world and Satan to the degree that their willingness to listen was acute, and their seriousness about wanting to do something else was dramatic. And then I got the opportunity, do you understand, the privilege, if you will, of having a ringside seat, a ticket to watch the transformation in those people's lives. And it wasn't smooth, never is. It was always 2 steps forward and 1 step back, and required lots and lots and lots of patience and tolerance on my part, and I didn't always have it. But the very idea that I was managing, do you understand, to be in touch with those people so that I might watch what God does, not what I do, by simply introducing them to the prescription, if you will, did something for me that I don't think anything else could do. The program of Alcoholics Anonymous and its nature, do you understand, is pretty old. It's back in the 30s that came around. But so they figured this out too, and they figured it out from this big book right here, not from their experience, that here's what's going to happen. If you do something good for yourself, and then you pass that along to another person, and you get to watch what it does with them too, it solidifies that what you've done for yourself was a good thing. Does that make sense? Until we pass this along to someone else and watch it just magnify itself in their life and their walk, and we don't get to do much, you understand, but watch. We really don't have to do much. You know, this book has a power of its own. It's way beyond anything you could do or say. You simply present them the prescription, and when the prescription, you understand, is fulfilled, you have seen something that is mirroring what's happened to you. Until then, we're not really good at getting out of ourselves that good and having the outside third-person perspective of our own lives. We really aren't any good at that. But when we pass this along to someone else and it totally transforms them, and now they're telling other people about that and telling them how wonderful it feels to be the servant that Christ was and helping those who need Him and watching their lives transform. I didn't decide to stay here until then. I don't know why some of you are staying here, but I hadn't decided that this was where I needed to stay until that happened to me. And I cannot tell you what it would take for you to see to it I leave here. But you better be ready for a fight, because this is my home. It's not my home because of you. Not that you weren't gracious and kind and very able to share with me, but this is my home because this is where Christ is. This is where God showed up, you understand, in someone I taught so that I might really need to be here and want to in such a way as to have everything else stand behind me. I don't want anything else like I want that. I don't want anything else like I want to tell others about Christ and watch what happens. It feeds me. Do you understand that? It feeds me. You've been fed here. I know you have. You wouldn't be here. And sometimes you get fed by watching somebody come up here and be honest about where they are and what's going on in their life. You know, that level of honesty is beautiful. It's hard fought. They've already fought some battle, do you understand, to even get here and be able to be that honest in front of all of us. And with that kind of severity, do you understand, our hearts are lifted that God is still here and God is still working and He's still the most powerful thing in the universe, and He can still save us from ourselves. That's why I'm here. And so we start to see the difference, do you understand, in our relationship with Christ when we start seeing Him as a source of food. Not just for us, but for other people. I get hungry over and over again. I'm not ashamed to tell you that. I get spiritually hungry over and over again. I need to be constantly fed spiritually. Do you understand that? Do you? Are you in need of spiritual food all the time? That's not a disgrace. That's intentional. He creates us that way so that we might have what we need to keep going, to understand, in this direction, so that things will work without any difficulty from us. We love that. I love loving people with the love of Christ. There's a man in a rehab in Austin right now. Who asked me a question via text. He said, "Is addiction like a permanent disease?" Fair question. Am I always going to be addicted like might always have asthma or brain damage or some other malady? And I had to become prescriptive with him and tell him the jury's still out about whether or not addiction is a disease or not. But I know this: God can do anything. And I took him out of the worldly thinking in his mind and talked to him until he got high enough above the planet, do you understand, to realize that that doesn't matter when it comes to dependency upon God through Christ. You don't need to worry about that.
Well, the addiction's forever. I mean, you have to replace it with something.
Well, here's what we're going to do, okay? We're going to look at Paul, and we're going to look at him and say, what was that thorn? I'm so glad they didn't say what the thorn was, aren't you? Because we would use it, wouldn't we? I know. Y'all are laughing, but we'd use it. Well, at least I wasn't as bad as Paul. Or you might beat yourself up with being worse than Paul. We'll use it somehow. We'll figure out a way. But you know, he had a clear conscience, do you understand, about that problem, and he clearly knew he wasn't in charge of it. It was in charge of him. Why do I do what I know I shouldn't be doing, but I do it anyway? And you know what? God just kept telling him, shut up about the thorn. I'm tired of hearing about it. My grace is sufficient for you. If you'll get busy doing my work, I'll take care of that. Is there a clue right there to servanthood, having power over everything worldly that plagues us? I don't know. Did he become a pretty good servant? Well, did he? You know what? You know who the least studied person in churches like this becomes? Christ. Why is that? We work Paul over. We work Matthew over. We work all those. There's just too many other people, do you understand, in the scriptures, do you understand, to spend that much time on Christ. We give him equal billing, do you understand, but is that really fair? I don't think so. Go to some other churches sometime and just listen to the preacher and mark on your piece of paper a little mark every time he says church and every time he says Christ. Which one do you think they talk about the most? Church. It's unbalanced. Is the church going to feed you like Christ can? No. Is the church here because of Christ? Yes. Were we baptized into the church? Added to. Were we baptized into Christ? Yeah. Where's the food? Okay, so now we've got religion and spirituality all mixed up too sometimes. Religion is supposed to make you aware of a relationship you're supposed to have. Do you understand that? It's a means to an end. It's certainly not the end. It's supposed to help you with your relationship. If it's not, it's gotten too big-headed. It's gotten too important. It's become too powerful. It's become less than what it could be. The church can be a very powerful instrument in helping you with a relationship with Christ. And that's exactly what it's supposed to do. What do you suppose? What do you suppose persecuted Christians in the first century got together to do? VBS? No, ma'am, no, sir. That is not why they gathered. Why did they gather? What did they need? What was the purpose? Did they even have this? Were they even commanded, do you understand, to attend church at that time? Or were they simply gathering because they needed something? What do you suppose they needed? Each other for sure, right? Did they need each other? Yes. Did they need to be encouraged? Yes. Did they need to be taught? Here's how you avoid the enemy. Exactly. They talked about what they'd seen Christ do. The miracles, the speaking, do you understand what he said? They talked clearly about his theory, you understand, because it was bizarre at that time. What else do you think they did? Did they pray? Yes. Do you think their prayers were different? Remember, these are people, do you understand, who had prayed before, okay? Praying didn't not exist before Christ. What do you think their prayers were different? How were they different? What were they like now? Everything had changed. Everything.
Well, many of them actually saw him after his death and then saw him ascend.
Lots of witnessing. Would you say that? A lot of witnessing. What I mean by witnessing is that lots of people had seen Christ after his ascension. Lots of people have seen him do some miraculous things. You know the guy that had to have the hole in his roof, you know, to get the guy? What do you think his life was like after that? Do you think he fixed the hole? If I was him, I would not. I would not fix the hole. I would charge money for people to come see the hole. The truth is that I don't know what would have happened to him, but I know a lot of people probably heard about that incident, and a lot of people wanted to hear his story. And you know what? I don't think he abandoned the house after that. I think he stayed in it until he died. I really do. This is all speculation on my part, but he could have been the other way, you know. You guys are tearing up my house. Get out of here. But I don't think that's what happened. That wouldn't have happened to any of us. I think if some guys beat a hole in the roof and lowered a man who needed help to Jesus Christ standing in my living room, trust me, I would have built a shrine around that. I would have probably done the wrong thing, you know? Yeah. And do you suppose Christians slipped in there and talked to that guy? How many times do you think Lazarus was asked about? Tell us the story about being dead. Did they need that? Do you think people needed that back then? Yes. Do we need that now?
Yes.
I do. And I'll tell you where I find it. I find it in talking to people about Christ in such a way as to let them know what I have is prescriptive. It's perfect for me. And it will be perfect for them. It won't be, they're not going to have the same relationship with Christ I do. It's going to be different because I'm different and my life's been different and He's fixed different things for me. I can't imagine the pool at Bethesda guy, do you understand, has been laying there for 38 years and he has been healed, okay, and then asked by Christ, you know, can you pick that mat up and leave now? What's the deal with the mat? Why did he ask you to pick the mat up? Was there a litter problem there or something? I don't think so. He says, in His own way, pick that mat up and go. You're never coming back here. Okay. You think that guy, okay, and the blind guy ever got together? Do you suppose they sought each other out? I would, if I had been healed, do you understand, by Christ, and I knew the guy at the Bethesda place, you understand, who'd laid there for that long, was nearby, I think I would have trotted over to his house and we'd have had tea. Yes. Yeah. We'd have signed autographs for a while maybe. I don't know what we would have done. But you understand, people who gathered in the first century had a completely different purpose than we do. I don't know if our purpose is better or worse than theirs, but I'll tell you what we don't have that we need is people who can gather and go talk to somebody about what they've seen God do. And I don't care if God did it or not. I still give Him credit for parking places, whether He did it or not.
He did it.
I don't care what you think about that. It's my God. Do you understand that? And I think He'll do that for me. I think He loves me that much. If your God doesn't do that, then that's all He doesn't do. Okay. So how can we do this better? We've got to try to get another idea here. We've become too corporate in our thinking. We've almost created a machine here that operates, do you understand, like a machine and leaves out a lot of the things that we can actually count on to feed us, that help us to become attractive and help us to become even teachable, do you understand? Because if we had an actual miraculous event take place right in front of your eyes, would you discount it? We may already have. And the reason is because we're not looking for Him. If you were told Jesus Christ is on the planet, okay, He's here again, okay, would you want to know where He is? Would you start looking for Him? Yes. You know the Spirit's here? Do you know it is? Are you looking for it to do what it does? Are you looking for it? Are you looking for evidence that He's here? Are you? Or are you complacent in that and just ready to go to the movies when I get through talking? Religion is knowledge about God, while spirituality is knowing God. Religion satisfies the mind and the emotions. Spirituality satisfies the soul. Religion puts on its best manners, clothes, and face on Sundays or special holidays or whenever certain people are around. Spirituality behaves itself every day, everywhere, even when all alone. Religion is working as hard as we can for God. Spirituality is God working as hard as He can for us. Religion will cause a person to be found in church every day if necessary. Spirituality will cause the church to be found in the person every day as necessary. Religion will make us do a lot of things we really do not want to do. Spirituality will make us do only what we should do because the desires in our heart. Religion will make a certain set of good habits form us. Spirituality will cause us to form good habits. A person works on their religion. Spirituality works on the person. Religion will cause us to do good. Spirituality causes us to be good and do good as well. Religion can make us look good to others, while spirituality makes us look good to God. Religion is concerned with showing love, joy, peace, and so forth. Spirituality is concerned with possessing love, joy, and peace, and thereby automatically producing these positive attributes. Remember what I told you about your best friend? The reason that you wouldn't steal from your best friend is not because there's a rule or a law against it. The reason you wouldn't steal from your best friend is because of the relationship you have with that friend. You wouldn't even think about that. It wouldn't even occur to you. Sin would not even occur to us if we were spiritually sound. Or to say that another way, if our relationship was what it needed to be. If the love was flowing back and forth properly, our need for sin or idolatrous living or this stinking planet, period, would end. And we would walk the planet in such a way as for people to point their finger at us and say, those people are crazy. Or, I want what they have. Do you care which one it is? I don't care, because either way, I have a full heart. I have a desire to do for others, not myself. I have the food that I need every day to be who He would have me be. I want you to have that more than anything. Because what will happen is, I can tell you what would happen. Okay? I think Dee Dee might have it. I do. You know why? Because I've watched Dee Dee travel all over the place with some girls that used to sing here. Remember those girls? I've seen him, and I think he did that because it lifted him. I think they lifted all of us in a lot of ways. But I know that he's got a broken toe right now. Did you know that? Yeah, he's got one of those cute boots on. Have you seen the boots? Yeah. Yeah. Those of us that have had to wear a boot like that can't wait to throw that boot away. Okay? But I can tell you this, Christ could make him dance right now without pain if that's what he wanted to do. God is still as powerful as he ever has been. He can still work on a molecular level anytime he chooses. He can make something or destroy something anytime he needs to. He can bring things on in you that you can't bring on in yourself. He can do things that you'll never, ever, ever accomplish scientifically, medically, or mentally. And yet we rely on the world. And so if we are going to be proper disciples and be discipling, the first thing we're going to have to be able to do is share the joy and the peace and the comfort with which we have been comforted. If you've never had it, you can't share it. You can't sell something you don't believe in. And so the power to do this, the power to build the kingdom in such a way as to have it be built with the love of God, is what we've been talking about. There's much more skill involved than you might have thought. It's not going to be something that you can sit in a pew and participate in. It's something that you're going to have to get up and go do some things, do you understand, that create a situation for that to happen in. And I hope we've given you that. I hope you have learned something here. If you haven't, come back next week, because we're still going to be here. And we're still going to try to get you to know a little bit about the proper administration of love, how to administer love to other humans. Will you pray with me? Father, thank you so much for these people, these brothers and these sisters, these seekers, these people who are hungry. We come here because we're hungry. We come here because the food we want is not available in a smorgasbord somewhere. We want the comfort, Father, and the contentedness and the significance of knowing Jesus Christ. We want the humbleness and the contriteness in our hearts so that we might feel the need to give and encourage and uplift and promise. Father, I have promised people things that you will do. I have spoken openly and clearly about what you will do. I know I haven't risked anything. I know that you can do it. And I know that you have and you will, and it's not stopped in a couple of thousand years. So it's not a real risky thing for me to promise joy and peace and contentedness and knowledge and wisdom. I promise it, Father, because I believe it. I believe it because it's happened to me. And there's probably not a better form of communication on the planet than that for us to use to spread the word about you. All I ask, Father, is that these people believe in what they know, speak of how they feel, and continue to look for someone and opportunities in someone so that they might tell them about you in such a way as to have them turn and go in a way that they probably hadn't thought of yet. Give these people the courage, Father, and the wisdom to pick those people out and hand it over. And watch it do what it does. And know that they've done what they were supposed to for themselves, not just because of the rules, but because of how it feels. Father, we thank you for this opportunity to meet together, unharassed by Satan or man. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.